Warning, we are about to spoil the second half of Hannibal Season 1. If you are planning on watching the show or haven't seen it and don't want it spoiled, don't watch this episode. But if you don't care or have seen the show, please stick around. So an FBI detective walks into a bar and it turns into fucking Silent Hill!
Yeah, it was good. Good job.
What's the deal with Silent Hill food?
We're not. I'm cutting it before. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Roulette. Today, we are right back in the thick of it. We are doing the second half of Hannibal Season 1. By God, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we picked kind of a perfect stopping point before this shit went into high gear.
And oh boy, does it kick into high gear. Oh man, I don't even know. Spoiler alert, it's really fucking good.
Yeah, this show actually got better, which my brain wants to say that's rare, but I don't think I watched enough TV to actually know if it is.
Yeah, I know I've watched more American shows than you have, and usually it could go either way. Like, sometimes the first season's great, and then the show goes downhill after that, or, like, sometimes the first season's all right, and then it just kind of, fixes itself, and it, like, really catches its, flow, and they're in the middle of a...
But then it hits, like, season 5, and then it starts going downhill
Yeah,
again.
generally 5 is...
Unless you're Archer, then you wait till season 7.
Damn. Okay. Just leaving, shooting shots fired at Archer this early on in our run. Okay.
No, wait. They waited till season 8, and then
yeah,
after season 8 went downhill.
Yeah. Okay, we love Archer, but that's off topic. That's completely off topic. But yeah, no, this show really hit its stride with the last half of season 1. And it's phenomenal. So, yeah, where should we start? Like, the quick synopsis of each episode, or like the overview of the season?
I think we should give an overview of the season's plot, and then we can go into each episode.
Because we have each episode of the week, but then also we have the main plot which is basically, Will Graham and Lecter.
Well, at this point, it kind of goes very much more serialized.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like how Gravity Falls did.
Yeah, like it's really starting, like one episode's really flowing into another, because there is like the, serial killer of the week thing, but then I think the main plot would really be Will slowly losing his sanity, right? Wouldn't that be the main plot point, and how he's dealing with all this shit that's happening around him?
Well, once it hits is episode 10 the one I'm thinking of? I mean, yeah. Around episode 10, that's when things start getting serialized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, 8 and 9 are still kind of killer of the week.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, then, like, will you say 8 and 9? Or 9?
8 and 9 were killer of the week, then 10 is when when things go up a notch.
Yeah, like 10, 11, 12, and 13, the last 4 episodes, the show really got interesting then, because like things were kind of coming to a head and starting to actually like build up to something. I want to talk about other things, but again, I just have to organize my thoughts first. So
okay, you want us to do a synopsis first?
Let's get that out of the way. Like, just give an overview of the main plot points this season. Just start to just explain that, I guess. I'll let you do that because you did it really well last time.
Okay. I'm gonna try to remember, because honestly, 8 and 9 are least memorable out of this batch.
Well, besides the whole totem pole of death thing, which was rad as
Totem
fuck.
pole of death is really neato. But okay, so we ended off on the FBI was kind of getting on Hannibal's case, like, because Will was figuring out that there's something kind of iffy about all this.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 8 is... Okay, episode 8, we have seen Hannibal with another client. That client gets a bit too obsessive, and also Hannibal is contacted by another murderer. He kills both of them in his office. And somehow gets the fuck away with this by claiming it was self-defense.
Yeah, he claims that the crazy guy killed his patient. Killed his patient, which we saw that didn't happen. Hannibal just snapped his neck and then the two fought. But
yeah.
Yeah.
In a fight scene we definitely have to talk about a bit.
It went a little bit on the silly side, honestly.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
But things get interesting around episode 9, where there is a totem pole of dead bodies. But that's not the interesting part, even though it's a really cool and disturbing thing to see.
Yeah.
What happens is Will has been slowly becoming more crazy. And this is something I love and also really want to talk about, but I'm trying to stay focused.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a bunch of that. There's all that to talk about. Yeah. So
yeah, we're going to be jumping around a lot this episode. I will warn you now. Well, okay. Will is at the crime scene. He's doing his thing. And all of a sudden, he's in Hannibal's office. Now, this could just be a normal cut, but even Will doesn't know how he got there.
Yeah, it's brilliant because you know, in like a crime show, sometimes that's a good transition. You know, we're at the crime scene, all of a sudden it just cuts to him like he's walking into his office. But no, the show plays with that, and he's like, and Hannibal comes out of his office, and Will starts figuring out like, how did I get here? I was just at the crime scene, and now I'm here. I'm just like, oh.
Will is going completely insane at this point. So much so that in the next episode, he thinks he might be the murderer. As a woman was found under her bed with her mouth slit open and she drowned in her own blood.
Really fucked up.
I think, if I remember correctly, yeah, he has a freak out while doing his
Yes.
I don't know what you'd call it.
His gift, I guess, because he gets into serial killers' heads and tries to recreate the crime scene.
When he was getting the killer's head, he goes overboard and actually gets like in the blood. He gets near the corpse.
Yeah, like, well, I think he takes the knife and starts like recreating the scene, but then he like comes out of the door and the FBI's are just standing there and they see he has blood on his hands and
because he was having a dream of killing Abigail, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the director's
also Abigail comes back near the end of the show.
I knew she would. I knew they'd find a way to bring her back and work around the fact they had to, not air the 4th episode.
Yeah, I just wouldn't have been surprised if they did it. That was my main thing.
I would have been, but yeah, I see where you're coming from. But yeah, obviously the director's now a little worried because he's like, you've never done this before. This is the first time you've ever contaminated a crime scene.
But that isn't the worst of it, because Hannibal, being a great friend, takes Will to get an MRI, mostly because Will wants a medical reason rather than thinking he is insane.
Yeah,
something like a tumor or like a clot in his brain.
Yeah, or something that's causing all this to happen because he's unwilling to. He's either unwilling or he doesn't want to face the fact that he may have psychological problems or serious psychological trauma. So he's like, it has to be something physical with me.
Which technically he doesn't. They actually, Hannibal and the doctor both see that Will's brain is horribly inflated.
Yeah.
Like, I forget the term for it, and even looking at it right now, I don't want to read it.
That's fair.
But they lie to Will, saying there's no neurological problems, so that way they can study it more.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what Hannibal says to the doctor. Then we get weirder. Are you still there, by the way?
I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm just letting you go.
Then things start to get weirder and connected. Because Will is absolutely bouncing off the walls at this point. And the person who was... what is the,
The
name
Chesapeake
they give?
Ripper.
Say that one more time.
The Chesapeake Ripper.
Yes, the person who is pretending to be a Chesapeake Ripper escapes from prison and starts going on a massive killing spree. Oh, also I should add, Hannibal killed the doctor he made the deal with to not tell Will that he was actually having problems in his brain.
Yeah.
And the Chesapeake Ripper is now going around and killing all the doctors who made him think he was the Chesapeake Ripper.
Yeah. Yeah, they like say that he like drills inside their brains and scrambles their brains because he's like, oh, they did that to him. Now he wants to get them back. And he's like horribly mutilating all the ones that, you know, did him wrong.
He even kidnaps the reporter chick. Yeah, she's still here.
Unfortunately, yes.
Moving on. But like I said, Will is bouncing off the fucking walls at this point, and even they find where the Chesapeake Ripper is hiding. The cops raid the building while Will stays in the car, but he actually kind of gets the Chesapeake Ripper, but he's going so crazy he sees the dad from the very first episode who he shot.
Yeah, because he's still having serious psychological trauma with him. And it's even hinted, you know, in the one episode, the first one we actually start watching for this second batch of episodes where the violinist there, like, the monster of the week, he, like, puts a violin through the guy's throat and starts playing it, but then he, like, sees the dad from the first case in the audience clapping. So he's actually...
so creepy.
Yeah, so he's actually starting to see him in other, like, cases, and he can't get over the fact that he killed him. So, yeah, now he sees the dad.
And since he's bouncing off the walls, he's worried he might be becoming him.
Yep. Yeah, and now the fucking... so, yeah, he sees that in the Chesapeake Ripper and then ends up just straight up executing him outside the house because he's about to kill...
Well, not right away.
Yeah. He talks with him
First, he takes him to Hannibal's house where Hannibal, like, tries to talk Will down, actually kind of trying to make him more crazy by saying no one is there.
Yeah, because he thought that the guy was there, but he's like, Will, no one is there. You know, you're just imagining things. He's like, don't lie to me. He's like, no, there's no one there.
I like your Hannibal voice.
Yeah, you do? Because he has, like, this thick Swedish accent. I can't, it's really hard to imitate.
It sounds like our somber voice. But anyway, but Will kind of passes out because he has a seizure, and then Hannibal's like, yo, you know that psychologist you're looking for? She's over there. Go get her. But I will come after you or something. I forget exactly what he says, but he leaves a gun and car keys on the table. Will grabs that, goes, and then shoots, basically straight up executes the guy.
Yeah, because he leaves them on the table, and he totally knows Will's going to take him and go after him. So... But yeah, because he was about to kill the one psychiatrist who was looking over Abigail.
Yeah.
So that's why he just straight up kills him.
and then, also that psychiatrist is his friend. So
yeah, and has a bit of a romantic interest in. So.
Oh yeah, they kiss, but that was sort of a subplot earlier. They kissed, and then she was like, "I can't date you."
Yeah, you're too unstable.
Luckily, you don't need a friend or something to stay stable, hopefully.
Right.
Now, anyway, back to Will being horribly unstable.
So, yeah, after he executes him, he passes out, and then they're both...
He passes out and apparently had, like, 102 fever or something. But the fever goes away, and he says he's thinking more clearly. And he realizes the copycat exists.
Yep.
The copycat being Hannibal, but he doesn't know that right now.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow he connects all the murders, like, well, not all of them, but most of the murders we talked about on the show that were just kind of like, oh, that was probably the killer. He's like, no, this one's connected to here and this one's connected to here. They all knew something.
Yeah. And, like, it doesn't... And it's so cool how they play with that, because it's like, oh, no, these are all connected. And he knows they're connected to a person. He just doesn't know who that person is. But because of his mental state, because of the fact he's slowly going insane, everyone just plays it off as, you're paranoid.
Yeah, you're losing it.
Yeah, which he is losing it, but he's technically right about all of them being tied back to Hannibal. But everyone just plays it off like, you know, you've been in a bad place, you're paranoid, you know, just... let it go, Will. They've all been solved.
But then he wants to retrace where all these murders started. And he gets Abigail and goes back to her father's cabin.
Yep.
And actually figures out here that Abigail helped with her father's murders.
Mm-hmm.
Which, first off, has a really fucked up scene where he impales her on
One of the
reindeer
deer heads,
antlers.
yeah.
But that doesn't happen. He was just imagining that.
Yeah, because like he's arguing with her, and then like he impales her, but then it just cuts to him just yelling like and crazy at her. She's like, "No, it was because of this," and then he loses time again.
He loses time and ends up going back home without her.
Yeah, because
she runs home to where Hannibal is waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And Hannibal is now, since Will is onto him, starts cutting off loose ends.
Yeah, because he says something like, "I'm sorry that I couldn't protect you in this life," and that's where the second to last episode ends.
Next episode, Will wakes up in his home and, in a daze, vomits into the sink, puking up an ear. Abigail's ear.
Yeah, and then it's brilliant because me and Justin were wondering, like, is he dreaming this? Was this just like another fever dream he had? But no, turns out that ear's actually in the sink, and he calls Hannibal, and he's like, "Yo, I need your help," and he's like, "You can't run away with this. I have to call Jack." And so Jack comes in and starts this investigation against Will.
And Will is arrested.
Yeah.
And it turns out Hannibal has kind of planned for this, because there is a bunch of evidence against Will, even connecting him to the murders, which he said was connected to a copy. All the murders that were connected to the copycat.
Yeah. And they found like they actually were able to connect Will to all the murders that happened, because we see Hannibal making fishing lures, but we don't know what for. Turns out he got like actual bones or something off the dead body's victims and hair and stuff and was tying them together. And it turns out Will likes to fly fish. So ever from the beginning, he kind of had this contingency and was just slowly, framing Will for all of the shit that happened.
And then they do arrest Will after finding that evidence, and they were going to take him in prison. But this is actually kind of clever. I'm not sure if you caught this right away.
Uh-huh.
But since he's been in God damn it, I always forget the name.
The Chesapeake
Ripper.
Yeah.
Since he was in the Ripper escaped his prison blockade.
Mm-hmm.
And Will did do his investigation thing on that. And he escapes the exact same way.
Yeah.
Because he knew how.
Mm-hmm.
Technically. We are never told if he is 100% right here.
Yeah, they never explicitly say, because they show how like Will thinks the murders went down, but we're never explicitly stated this is how they went down.
Yeah, it could have just been a bit different. But anyway, it works.
Yeah.
And Will goes to his good friend, Hannibal. The only person you can trust, apparently.
Because, he's in his office up top in the second level on the bookcase just chatting with Hannibal. And the scene that I love is where, like, they're talking to each other, and it kind of goes artsy where, like, they're sitting across from each other and the windows just have their silhouette behind them. And, like, they're just discussing, and everything that's happened kind of comes to a head. He's like, if you were to do this, how would you have done this? And blah, 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 blah. And he just goes over all the events that have happened, that have transpired over the season. And it just comes to a head as he just puts all together in his head. I love that scene. It's so cool.
But then in sort of a fit of madness, Will holds Hannibal at gunpoint, and they head back to the murder house where this all started.
Or, like, because he had the gun on him, but we don't know if he actually threatened him. Because I was thinking, how is Hannibal going to get out of this one? It's like, oh, yeah, he has a gun. He's going to make it look like he held him hostage.
Which he kind of was.
Yeah, kind of was. So they go back to the house, and they're, like, investigating and all that, and then he thinks that's Hannibal and points the gun at him.
Well, Will kind of adds everything together and realizes it's Hannibal.
Yeah, he points the gun
However, Jack shows up just too late to hear
Yeah.
Will's reasoning, and early enough to make sure Hannibal isn't shot in the fucking face.
Yeah. Like you said, it is kind of a very Twilight Zone-y ending, isn't it?
Yeah, which then Jack shoots Will not to death in like the arm to make sure or he doesn't kill Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
And the season ends with Hannibal looking into the classic cell with Will inside.
Yep. Oh, the irony there. It's great.
Probably could have been made shorter, but there's a lot to talk about
Yeah.
this season.
This was a very it got very story heavy towards the end of this season. So
Yeah.
Oh boy, but yeah, that was the overall story. So yeah, what should we discuss first?
Oh, where do we start? There's so much I want. Well, okay, there was one thing I wanted to talk about. Hold on, let me look. I did take a couple of notes while we were watching.
Okay, cool.
By a couple, I mean literally two.
Literally a couple.
I really like the dynamic between Hannibal and Will.
Mm-hmm.
Because both are holding a secret. And the only time we've seen Hannibal in other movies and shows, it's always been he's the psychopath.
Yeah.
He's the psychopath and there's this logical cop. But here, it's almost a level playing field with them holding the secret, knowing of Abigail's murder.
Yeah.
And there's that odd tension, but also, like, I guess since it's a level playing field, it's weird to see how they interact off each other, both kind of knowing they have somewhat of a monstrous intent.
Yes. Yeah. And I do love this show's interpretation of Will Graham. Because in Red Dragon and in Manhunter, like, you know, he gets inside the head and it's like hinted that he has psychological issues, and they do the normal, Hannibal does the normal thing of like, oh, you know, you like me in more ways than you would know. But, you know, in this one, they actually like full straight on like explore the themes of that. Like, it's not just he gets inside a head, you know, is bad for a bit, you know, and the next episode he's fine. No, like, as the series progresses, this psychologically scars Will more and more and more to the point where he literally goes insane.
And I like that too, but not just for the sense of like the difference between Red Dragon and this, but also how often that's a cliche in cop shows of like, oh, the detective knows how to get into the heads of the criminals. That could fuck with you so hard.
Yeah, that's just the thing. And like, it literally gets Will starting to wonder. It's like, you know, am I just insane as them? Could I actually do this? It's like, yes, I have this gift to where I can get into these killers' heads and use it to help catch the killers and, you know, use it so you can save lives instead of killing them. But in order to do that, you'd have to have some kind of underlying, you know, mental problem to begin with. So this scars him in so many ways, and it's brilliant, the psychological trauma that they show, that the toll that it would realistically take on the person who's doing this.
Yeah, especially if they were doing it week after week.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not just like one case and then he gets a break. No, it's constant, you know, this murder, this murder, this murder, this murder. It'll get under your skin after a while.
Or you'd get under someone else's.
But yeah, that's brilliant. Like you said, the dynamic between him and Hannibal is built up so well here, because in the other forms of media, Hannibal is already, you know, caught and insane. But here, no one knows his secret. And Will's starting to figure it out, and we get to see, you know, how this all plays out. And it's really cool how it's done.
Yeah, it's just there's always the dramatic irony of it all, and that adds a lot to the show and it keeps a lot of the intrigue.
Yeah, and I do love, like I said, I do love how trippy it gets too, because it adds a lot to the show because these themes can be done really well, but it helps that the show is so well made and so well shot, and the atmosphere with the audio and the cinematography is so well done that it helps accentuate the story. Like, it's not artsy for the sake of being artsy, it's artsy to help enhance the themes that it's going for.
Yeah, it's just, oh man,
it's so good.
I'm trying to debate on where, because there's a lot to talk about, and that bothers me.
Oh well. If it's a longer episode, oh well. It's a good show. It's worth talking about.
I'm just trying to figure out what to segue to next, because I could talk about each of the episodes that happened in the last part, because they're so fucking good.
They're good. Well, okay, how about this? How about we get some of the bad out of the way and then talk about the good ones? Because there are...
Okay, let's talk about the fight scene then.
There are a couple of things that were in... yeah, that fight scene was really fucking silly. It was kind of cool, but like in hindsight, like... Because there's this music director that Hannibal finds out that's also a serial killer. Because there's this old thing where cellos used to be made out of cat guts.
Well, the strings
used to be made out of cat guts. And it's like, he's like, oh, I hear they're made out of cat guts. And he's like, not always. But then that cuts to him and he finds out, oh, no, they're not cat guts. They're human guts.
Also, there's a really cool body in this episode where they shove a cello down a dude's throat and then play it through his neck.
Like the neck of the cello, because he's like, oh, I want to show me your full potential or something. It's really fucked up, but goddamn.
So cool.
It's so cool.
Okay, so... It hits this point where, why does Hannibal want to kill him?
Maybe because maybe he knows.
No, because I think he wanted to kill Hannibal as well.
Yeah, they like wanted to kill each other. I did like that scene where they're like, I was going to kill you, but blah blah blah, and it's like, oh yeah, well I was going to kill you, but blah blah blah. But I think it was...
I thought we could be partners, and then Hannibal's like, nah.
Yeah, I think it's too because he knows his secret. Like, he saw him killing somebody one time.
Oh, yeah.
And he was about to say that to the patient, but then Hannibal snaps his neck. And he didn't want any loose ends to be there, so they kind of just went at it. But yeah, he has one of the cello strings, and they're about to fight. But then, like, I think they start out, he like pulls out the cello string and just ninja style starts like flying it around or whatever, spinning it.
Wasn't something tied to the end of it?
So, I think so, something like that. It started off really stupid.
Yeah, there was just way too much over the topness with it where, okay, this isn't happening.
No, it's like, I get that, like, he's a serial killer and these two are supposed to have, like, a big battle, but at the same time, it's like, the show was somewhat grounded in reality besides all the trippy stuff. It's like, you have this, like, there's like a ninja spinning a fucking string around.
And Hannibal's just, like, dead rising everything in his office.
Just throwing shit at him, picking it up, and which I wouldn't have minded, but goddamn, like, it's like the original Batman series where, like, when they fight, they just destroy everything in the room.
That scene was just, it went too far in corny to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I was guys sitting there like, okay, I thought it was kind of cool, but I was like, yeah, this is a little silly. And the only other plot point I can think of that was bad was with the one girl from the one case.
You need to be more specific there.
The girl whose skin got ripped off and then she got set on fire.
Oh, yes. Okay, because she technically saw Hannibal kill the doctor.
Yeah, and we'll describe this episode that she was started out in after this, I think, because that's one of our favorites. But
yeah, this is episode 11. Episode 10 is
that's the one
where we'll talk more about this girl.
Yeah, but she has a thing where a disease or something where she can't see people's faces.
Yeah, she has a mental disorder that does not allow her to see faces. She also ran away from home and is basically a walking zombie at this point.
Yeah, she like has like liver failure and all that because she's so malnourished, and like her skin is like start slowly dying to a point where like
and it can literally peel. Like Will actually pulls off a chunk of her arm skin.
Yeah.
And she is in I guess it's an iron lung.
something like that, or like
a containment tube sort of thing.
Yeah, like an oxygen chamber, I guess is what it is, basically to help her breathe and stuff.
And to make sure she doesn't get completely infected.
Mm-hmm.
And it's implied Hannibal, like, put in a plastic comb so she could spark it and then burn to death inside.
And I guess, like, they said she had a wristband to stop that from happening, but it was off at the time or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of willing to buy that it was an accident or something, but no, it's implied that, oh, Hannibal somehow got close to it and put the thing in there, and then she caught on fire. And the scene is really disturbing and cool, but the explanation behind it, I was just like, okay.
That was just so corny. Like, I bought all his other murders, but that one was like, oh yes, the person who is a murderer is going to be tried and probably protected by police at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Hannibal was able to sneak into that room and do all that.
Yeah. I was like, I can suspend my disbelief a little bit, but no. No.
No, that part was also a bit too far in the fucking really department.
Uh-huh. Like, again, her death scene was cool, but that was just a bit too far, I felt, for why that happened.
Anyway, the cool shit.
Yeah, those are the only 2 plot points I think we felt were bad. Our favorite episode is episode 10, which is Buffet something. What is it? Buffet... Freud?
Buffet Freud?
Yeah, Buffet Freud, which literally translates to cold buffet. Because the rest of the show, it kind of had this, it did have a very disturbing atmosphere, and it had some good conversations and maybe a bit of humor, but it was odd, and I can't quite describe how they did it. This episode kind of took a hard tonal shift, and it had more of a disturbing, almost oppressive atmosphere to it, I felt.
Like my favorite game, Screaming Ditch.
Screaming Ditch?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's the opposite of a Silent Hill.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. The person who's played the games, I haven't.
Person's who a gigantic fan. I got it. Okay. But... But no, this episode does turn very Silent Hilly. It was the first, because the other ones had some scary, fucked up shit in it, but this was the first one to actually kind of get under my skin and get really scary. I didn't like it, and I know Justin has a phobia of home invasions, so her standing outside Will's window, kind of just staring at him, did not sit well.
It reminded me of a scene from, it's either Scream 2 or 3.
Uh-huh.
I think it's 2, and it's like Nancy is sleeping on the couch. No, her name's not Nancy.
I know who you mean. I'm gonna
Sydney.
Yeah, Sydney.
I was confusing Nightmare on Elm Street.
You're good.
Sydney's sleeping on the couch, and the ghost of her mother comes over the window and is just staring in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so creepy. I hate it. Also, if anyone gets some funny idea to try to find my house and break in, I will shoot you.
He's heavily armed. That's not a joke.
I live in Illinois. I have a gun. Don't try me. Don't test me. Cameron knows to wear a bulletproof vest when walking around it.
Yeah, pretty much. We all have guns, and we're a little bit stressed out.
We got 16 million guns, and we're kind of stressed right now.
But yeah, no, this one actually went for straight up horror, and it worked so well. And like I said, I was very taken aback by the tone shift, but I really liked it because of that, because it kind of ventured into some new territory for the show. Because it was this...
Oh no, you can continue.
It was the girl that we were talking about, and it opens with something straight out of Evil Dead or something, where a woman's just wandering around in an isolated part of the woods, and it's a very, very tense opening scene. And all of a sudden she's walking around, she's about to go to bed, she stands up, I think, and then just gets dragged under her bed all of a sudden, and blood just splurts out.
Well, no, she went and fixed something in the roof because there was a drip.
There was a drip.
But yeah, you just see something grab her leg and pull her under the bed, and then just blood spews everywhere.
It's great. And
Which also, okay, the way we're told she's killed is she had like a Joker smile basically cut into her.
mm-hmm.
How the fuck did it spray that much blood?
I guess it depends on how deep it's cut too.
I don't think there's any veins in your cheek though.
No, she would have had to.
Cool. I'll let it slide.
It was cool. She would have had to cut, I think, deeper to where her throat is in order for that to happen.
Yeah. But what also helps here is this is where Will was really starting to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's hallucinating. We don't know what's real anymore. We don't even know where he is. He becomes completely unreliable as a narrator at this point.
This is the episode where Hannibal makes him draw a clock, and this reveal is great because he's like, you're starting to lose time because of trauma. I guess you want to block out. So he has him draw a clock. He's like, okay, draw a clock, put the numbers on it, and say what time it is, and say your name. Like, my name is Will Graham, just as a baseline to know it's reality. And where he is. Like, my name is Will Graham. I'm in Dr. Lecter's office, blah, blah, blah. And he draws a normal clock, puts the time on, and passes it to Hannibal. Then they discuss for a little bit. Hannibal looks down at the paper, and it turns out the circle of the clock is drawn, but all the numbers are like off to one side, and there are 4 like in a little thing in the side. And there's like a bunch of time there where there's just blank space, and we were like, oh shit. That was the moment where like Will became completely unreliable as a narrator because he was the guy we've been following. He's the main character, and he just became completely unreliable. So throughout this episode, we're not sure if he's seeing the little girl or if the little girl's even real because he pulls off the skin of her arm. Like, did that happen? Did any of this happen? So
then he loses time and appears in the woods.
Yeah.
I think it's like 4 hours later than when he was in the house.
Yeah. So throughout this whole episode, we see all this creepy shit happening, but we don't know if it's real or not.
Because sometimes we'll also see the deer again, but then something really does happen.
Yeah. It basically, Will becomes completely unreliable, and at this point, we start to question like if what we're seeing is real in any of the episodes during this or after it.
Which honestly adds an even cooler tension to everything.
It does.
Will wakes up, he pukes out an ear. Okay, is this real? Hannibal comes over. Yes, it is. Okay, now we know that. Why is it there? How did it get there?
Mm-hmm. It really makes you question what the fuck is going on here.
It makes me kind of wish the camera wasn't omnipresent sometimes.
What do you mean by that?
Like, imagine if we didn't know Hannibal killed Abigail.
Mm-hmm.
And then we open the next episode with the scene of Will puking up the ear.
Mm.
That will have cast so much doubt in what's going on.
Yeah, because I think they wanted to let the audience know that, because we know Hannibal's a serial killer, and we know he's involved with a lot of this, but I think they might have given a little too much away with what Hannibal was involved in.
Yeah, or they could have waited to say Hannibal killed her.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they never explain how he force-fed the ear to Will.
My guess is that he was drugged somehow because he wakes up, because he's dazed, he's losing time and all that, but he wakes up and there's this weird like effect that's going on with the camera, like an almost like heartbeat blur effect almost. And like that had never been in the show before, so I'm like, was he just coming off of drugs is what I kind of started to wonder.
Yeah.
Like maybe he was sleeping, Hannibal drugged him, and then somehow forced fed him the ear.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Also, going back to 10, when Will goes in the MRI for a second time,
mm-hmm.
that was super, like, Silent Hill or maybe even Condemned.
All right, because he goes in there and there's this red light that, like, scans his brain, but then all of a sudden, red light goes off, he wakes up and just gets up and starts walking around and seeing all this weird shit.
Well, no, he wakes up and the one doctor who was there to scan him is gone.
Yeah, and there's no like transition or anything. Like there's just like light goes off, he wakes up, goes over to the office and finds him dead, right?
Well, he gets ready to leave thinking like, oh, he must have lost track of time, but he didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And then he goes in the office and it looks like the same way the creepy skin girl murdered someone,
Yeah.
murdered the doctor that way.
Yeah. Because we do find out, like, in the end of that episode 10 that, like, yeah, she is real, and she...
Yeah, because she's under Will's bed. That's not terrifying at all.
Yeah. No, the episode 10, oh, so scary. So scary.
I like his reaction, too, of, like, he sees the dogs barking at the underside of his bed, and then he's just like, oh, fuck. And, like, kind of launches himself off the bed so he can see under it, but be far away.
Yes. He just makes sure that he's not grabbed and pulled under the bed.
And is actually a good enough person to be able to talk her down.
Yeah, he doesn't just immediately shoot her. He knows that, this isn't her fault. She's malnourished, and because of that, she's having mental issues.
Wants to make a joke, but no, it doesn't want to make this political. Moving on.
But yeah, no, so that, and, it turns out that, obviously Hannibal did kill the doctor and she saw his face like we mentioned earlier, but it's really creepy because they add this effect to Hannibal to, like, we see his face blurred out and he's just talking.
But you could still see, like,
yeah,
the skull through the skin of his face.
It's such a disconcerting effect, and that whole episode had, again, this very Silent Hill-y vibe where it was just this weird trippy shit happening, and it wasn't like jump scares or anything. It was just creepy.
So unnerving. And is this the one where the deer changes?
Yes, this is the one where the deer, no.
I think that might be the next episode.
That's later, because I think he's in custody, yeah, and he looks through the window and the deer comes and it turns out it's a man. I forget where that actually happens.
That happens before he's arrested.
Okay. But yeah, no.
So it's either at the end of episode 11 or at the beginning of episode 12.
Yeah, because this whole time, this big-ass deer's turning him around, and in this really creepy scene, like, he goes closer to the deer, but then it just has a quick flash, and you see a shadow, but it looks human, and you see the eyes lit up. It has, like, human eyes, but the antlers, but the figure is clearly human, and you just get a glimpse of it, and it's just enough to go, what the fuck? I don't like Mr. Deerman. I don't like him.
I don't either. I'm feeling he's going to come back next season.
I mean, it's kind of implied that what he was, like, seeing, like, might have been Hannibal's presence or something like that. Because when he's in the house looking up at Jack, the deer man's just standing next to Jack.
Yeah, it's because he realizes it's Hannibal.
Yeah, because there's and you can see the symbolism too there, obviously, because it's like some figure stalking him, but he's not sure who. Like, he knows that something else is there, but he's not sure what, and it takes the form of a deer symbolism. But then he realizes the deer is Hannibal. That's the dots he's been trying to connect in his mind, but couldn't quite connect them.
Also, do you understand what Hannibal's plan was?
To undermine Will?
Not exactly. He wanted a murder friend. Because I kind of figured this out, but it's really explicit at the end when they're talking in the house. Because he's trying to talk Will down, and he kind of talks almost like the Joker, saying to give in to the madness and how they can both do a lot of good.
Yeah. And I guess that was hinted at earlier with the other serial killer when he had him for dinner and all that, so.
Yeah. But that's what that's what he seems to have wanted with Will. That's probably why he was hiding the mental illness. It was like, okay, if I see him snap, I can be there to catch him.
Yeah.
And that the same way he caught Abigail. It was like, because he admits that, yes, he knew she would murder the guy. And that's all he wanted. He wanted basically a protege.
I just found that I found that interesting and kind of disturbing because, like, he called the serial killer and does that, and Abby's like, why did you do that? And it's not like a deep reason or anything. He just goes, I just wanted to see what would happen. I was just like, oh shit.
And that adds a bit, I don't know if that makes Hannibal more terrifying or makes him clever.
Yeah. It's so brilliant how this is done, honestly.
He was just trying to make Will this plaything to see how he snapped.
And I mean, obviously, Jack finds out that Hannibal was hiding a bit from Will's mental illness, and obviously he goes and throws him under the bus. But his excuse is like, Jack's like, "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to determine what the cause of it was before, just going and pointing fingers, saying, oh, he has a problem." But no, he clearly has this ulterior motive and just sets Will up to take the fall for all of this.
Which I'm also wondering how, because you apparently heard that the end of season 3 is Red Dragon.
Yes.
So I'm wondering how the hell they're going to get Will out.
Yeah.
Of prison.
Because, I mean, the thing is that's interesting is this is not a straight adaptation. This is an interpretation of the books. Like, this isn't adapting any of the movies. This is just taking the books and the characters from the books and interpreting it in its own way. It doesn't owe anything to the movies, basically.
Movie or the book. I don't know how much it follows the book.
Yeah, so we'll see. Because, I do know that they do adapt Red Dragon for the last half of season 3, but I don't know how they do it or how they lead it, because it's been a very different take on Hannibal and a very different take on Will. And so with this added extra dynamic, I'm fascinated to see how they're going to follow through with all this.
And with the difference in Hannibal, comparing it to Anthony Hopkins, because who else are you supposed to connect it to?
Yeah, exactly. What, are you supposed to do it from the 80s Manhunter adaptation?
That was still Anthony Hopkins, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
No? Okay.
It was someone else completely.
Okay.
Anthony Hopkins didn't do it till Silence of the Lambs.
But, like, Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal is scary because he's very sporadic with his, like, burst into bloody violence.
Yeah, like, you can tell he's calm and collected, but then shit could go down at any time.
The scary part of this Hannibal is, yes, he can burst into violence, but he'll 100% know when to do it.
Yeah, he's
clever. He knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
He only gets mad when he doesn't.
Because there's a couple times where you can kind of see him squirm or get nervous, during the dinner table scene where like he finds out that the killer knows exactly what he's been doing. That's when he decides to kind of kill him.
He was actually caught.
Yeah. And that's when he actually decides, I'm going to kill this guy, but I'm not going to do it right away. I'm going to do it when the time is right. And I do love that kind of reveal. I know this is something else entirely, but I do love that, like, he's like, but why don't you... Because he feeds him dinner, but he doesn't say what the dinner is. And he's like, but why won't you poison them or anything? There's, like, easier ways. And he just goes, because I don't want to spoil the food.
That is so...
And you kind of see the look in his eyes like, oh...
I'm trying to think if there's anything else, like, story-wise that there is to talk about.
But yeah, Mads Mikkelsen's take on Hannibal is just brilliant. And it's such a different take than Anthony Hopkins, but it's equally as mesmerizing. Because every time he's on screen... What?
And terrifying.
And terrifying. Yeah, he's equally mesmerizing and terrifying because every time he's on screen, you just can't help but just be drawn to him. It's so well done how he plays the character.
I'm trying to think now if there's anything else in the story-wise to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, we went over pretty much everything that happened in the main storyline.
Yeah. There is also the technical, like the gore being just still so fucking cool.
Oh my god, yeah. Like, again, I don't know if I said this in the previous episode, but it still boggles my mind how there is... This show has some of the most fucked up shit I've ever seen. Like, I've seen R-rated horror movies that are less gruesome and less disturbing than this show.
Yep, this is allowed on normal television.
Exactly. And that's, again...
We have a literal totem pole of corpses,
yeah,
decaying corpses, and skeleton.
Yeah, just like legs, body parts strewn everywhere. It's like and even when the doctor's head was like, when Hannibal killed the doctor and like his jaw was pulled way down and his tongue was sticking out one end and like the teeth were on the other, I was just like, Jesus Christ. Or when the fucking imitating killer like cut his tongue like out of his throat and pulled it out his throat.
Yeah, to give him a necktie.
Oh, that was so fucked up, but goddamn.
Or the one dude he was gutted and holding his literal insides in his hand.
While alive, mind you.
Jeez, that's some fucking law-abiding citizen shit.
Oh, it is. Yeah, he was drugged and he was like numb to the point where he was still alive and conscious while he was getting his guts pulled out of him. Oh my god. Yeah, that does remind me of law-abiding. What?
As well.
What?
It said he might have made it?
Yeah, it's implied that they made it because, like, he's holding just a ball of his guts when they find him. And you're like, oh, well, he sewed him up. And I was just like, oh, bullshit, he'd still be alive after that.
Yeah, I doubt.
Literally got his kidney and part of his intestines pulled out beforehand before whatever the fuck else he was holding. Okay.
And the cinematography is just gorgeous.
Yeah. It is one of the most well-shot shows I've ever seen on American television. It's so gorgeous. And honestly, I'd go so far as to call this one of the best American TV shows I've seen, period. Honestly. And I've seen
I'm going to wait till I watch the other seasons.
What's that?
I'm going to wait till we see the other season.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But yeah, so far.
I don't think that the seasons will go downhill, but there's always the possibility.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're supposed to get even better. The reviews for the next two are they're actually better than the first season, so I'm excited. Because I've read a lot of reviews, like, well, obviously people call this one of the best horror TV shows ever made, but some people go so far as to call it one of the best TV shows ever made, period. So I don't know if I'll go that far, but we'll see after we finish watching it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so far, I'll add, it's been one of the best American shows I've ever seen in my life.
Just, the one shot, the tiki pole of corpses, and you see the waves of the ocean rise high above it, and it's just this beautiful shot of this horrific thing.
Yeah, oh my god. That's the thing about it, too, is it takes these really fucked up, horrifying scenes, and they are scary, but at the same time, they're fascinating to look at.
It's so cool. And especially with Will going crazy, the dreamlike imagery and the jumping around, the cutting, it disorients you as well, and you don't know when something is supposed to just be a normal cut to something ahead of time, or if Will completely lost track of time.
Yeah, because I just love how they play with, like, editing. Like, it's not just clever transitions. Sometimes it could mean more. Sometimes it could mean Will started here, but literally ended up here without knowing how he got there. So, just the fact that they, again, make Will a completely unreliable narrator and play with the fact that what you're seeing might not be real, that just builds so much more on the show too. It's so brilliant. I try to collect my thoughts because it's good. It's so good. Yeah, is there anything else we want to say? Or
there's another negative I thought of just something being kind of pointless.
Pray tell.
What is it? Jack's wife's cancer.
Yeah, they completely dropped that plot.
That was just completely dropped.
Yep.
Maybe it will come up in our season. Maybe she'll pass away and Jack will be crushed. But
yeah, they bring it up and and Jack has a bit of a hard time, but then it just literally gets completely dropped. Like when Jack never brings it up again, it doesn't affect his work in any way. Just kind of dropped.
Yeah. Anything else we have for the show?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm not sure.
I think we're covered.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Hannibal season 1 then.
Yeah, that's the end of Hannibal season 1. So, you probably want to explain to them did we explain how we're doing the TV wheels, short and long?
Oh, we explained it last episode, but I will say it again.
All right.
We are going to be spinning a second wheel. Now, this wheel is shorter shows that are around 1 to 2 seasons. maybe 3 if they're very short seasons. And we will spin this wheel. Say it lands on... I'm going to pick a random... Say we have Fooly Cooley on here.
Mm-hmm.
If it lands on that, we will sit through it. We'll talk about the show. And then as soon as we're done with Fooly Cooley, we will go back to Hannibal Season 2, talk about that. And after Season 2 is done, we will spin the short wheel again, watch whatever, and then do Season 3.
Yep. Just that way we get to sit through the show, but still varied up a bit. And we don't have since there's a random chance, we don't have the chance that we could never land on it until all of the other shows are done. That's the reasoning behind that.
Because I think we said this earlier too. It was originally going to be, we'll just put it back on the wheel, we'll spin it, and then hope we land on it. Next time we land on it, we'll do Season 2.
Mm-hmm.
However, due to our luck, that could end very badly.
Yes.
So we are doing it this way instead.
Yep. So without further ado, without further ado, it's time to spin the short wheel.
Time to spin the short TV wheel. I was right.
What was it?
It's Black Lagoon.
Yeah!
Okay, who's ready for a good old-fashioned cocksucking?
Woo!